We're a week away from the final pay-per-view of all time. Thank you, Dana White, and thank you, Jesus, because we're not going to have to pay $80 for nonsense no longer. And today I'm giving y'all my full card predictions for UFC 323 going down. It's pretty stacked from top to bottom, and as you're going to see with a lot of these close betting odds, it's a very unpredictable card. Starting off with the first one we got here, man, Myron Santos taking on Naimov, and a step up for Santos here, but I'm going to be going with him via a 29-28 decision here, okay? For as good of a striker and as green of a talent as Santos is, I think he's got a really high potential and a high future going forward. I think he'll be able to still beat Naimov. I don't think he's going to get some kind of crazy KO like he did in the TUF finale. Jesus, I forget the TUF even exists. But in general, man, Santos, this guy's really good on the feet, dude. He's a really dynamic kickboxer, very fluid, very technical, very fast. And he's very Anderson Silva-esque in his style. And it's before the fall off of Silva, so that's always a good comparison to have. And he's shown so far that he mostly has good takedown defense and he's able to hold his own in the clinch, which I think he's going to need for this matchup specifically, because I think Naimov is a good level of competition, a good jump up, but I don't think there's anything special or crazy that really stands out in his game. He is very beatable. He's consistently going to these kind of lackluster decisions, and you know, he was able to beat Nathaniel Wood a couple years ago. That win's aging well, but in general, he's a solid striker, a solid wrestler, but he can get out grappled and taken down, and he even got submitted at one point by Felipe Lima, and he's got a good chin, like I said, but he's very low output, very low volume, and kind of lacks certain power at times to where I can see Santos just stealing away these rounds if he's able to keep it standing, because again, that's going to be very important in this matchup. Naimov is going to be shooting for his life if he really wants to get this win here, okay? But if Santos' takedown defense can hold up, man, I think that his striking is just going to be too quick and too efficient for a guy like Naimov, okay? So I'm feeling a 29-28 decision here, and I got faith in Santos to really rise the ranks. He's my age. Jesus Christ, I gotta slap myself in the face and look in the mirror and say, what am I doing with my life? Because this guy's already 17-1 in the UFC, okay? So he's got a great future. I know that he got a robbery win over Francis Marshall, but bump in the road, guys. Bump in the road, okay? So I'm going with a 29-28 here for Santos. Moving on to the next one we got, man. We got Mansour Abdul-Malik taking on Antonio Troccoli. I'm going with Abdul-Malik for sure, bro, okay? One of the most competent picks on the card. And like I capped off the video, there's a lot of close fights, unpredictable fights in this one, but Troccoli should not get this one done, man. He had a no contest on the Contender Series, got the contract anyways, and then he went 0-2 in his actual UFC run. One time he got submitted, and the other time he got knocked out by Shara Bullet. So in general, there's just nothing that really stands out in this game. He's like one of these not low level, because, you know, he made it to the UFC. Congrats, I'll bake you a cake. But in terms of the UFC level and competition, he is a bit of a jobber hanging outside, very low outside the rankings. Whereas Mansour Abdul-Malik, man, I'm pretty sure the UFC's trying to give him a layup after the Cody Brundage performance. It was pretty lackluster in the first two rounds, and then the third round, they finally started to get the hell after it, chomping at the bit, but Cody Brundage just has always found a way to just, even while he's technically losing, it goes as like a no contest or a draw in his record, unfortunately, man. But I'm trusting Abdul-Malik, man. He's very powerful, 100% finishing rate, knows how to mix it up on the feet, he's got good elbows, and again, crazy power and a high pressure style. And I think that Troccoli really struggles with someone who's constantly moving forward or applying a heavy pressure, and especially someone who's capable of finishing like Abdul-Malik is. So I'm going with Mansour Abdul-Malik, man, via a round 1 or 2 KO. By all means, he should be able to get this one done. I don't know how Troccoli was able to land Mackenzie Dern at one point, okay? Moving on to the next one we got here, man, representing Poland, it's Iwo Baraniewski. Or maybe, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's making his UFC debut. Got a crazy Contender Series performance, and he's taking on Ibo Aslan, who started strong in the UFC, but now I believe he's on a 2-fight losing streak here. And this might be one of the more risky picks, okay? But I'm going to be going with the Polish power here. And we're going to get to Blachowicz later. But in Iwo Baraniewski here, I've really only seen some highlights from his regional scene. And I've only seen his Contender Series performance. But man, this guy is sick as fuck. The first shot he threw in the Contender Series performance, man, it was a 10 seconds in. He landed a nasty overhand right that sent his opponent, who I believe was a big favorite, right to the mat, okay? So the guy has really good finishing instincts, really good power. He's got some pretty mean leg kicks. He's able to wobble his opponents and get him to the ground. And then once he gets them down there, man, like I said, these good finishing instincts, he's able to beat him up with ground and pound and take him out of there. He's got a lot of KOs. He's got a nasty right hook. And man, he's even mixed in some takedowns at times. So the guy has insane power. And I think that in this matchup, he'll be able to find the chin of Aslan here. And don't get me wrong, I think Aslan is getting a bit underrated in this matchup, or just kind of overlooked. I don't think he's as bad as some people are saying, man. But Man, his last two performances were really rough, man, especially against Billy Anacana, where it was a very slow-paced fight. It was mostly on the feet, and don't get me wrong, he did stuff all three takedown attempts from Alicana, but Alicana was just piecing him up, man. It was a bit of a lackluster fight, and Aslan himself just wasn't able to find that power shot he was really looking for and wasn't throwing too much volume. And before the performance in that, man, he got subbed by Ian Cutelaba in like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's looking rough for him right now, man. He's shown great power in the past, but he's losing to guys who aren't too crazy of competition. Like Alicano is good and Ian Cutelaba is good, but like these guys aren't even ranked, and Aslan just seems like he's already on this kind of decline, whereas Iwo representing Poland, man, these guys are really doing good lately, and I feel like he'll be able to show it, and I feel like he's going to get a 29-28 decision here or a round 1 KO, all right? Moving on to the next one, we got Edson Barboza taking on Jalen Turner here. My prediction is going to be Jalen Turner, man. He's back. He's finally back after all 9 months, all right? And Jesus, how is this guy only 30 years old, bro? He's like skips from regular show, how he's like lived 100 lifetimes and yet he's still in his prime. That's what I feel like with Turner, man, okay? But he really cannot afford to lose. I mean, speaking of like a prime Moicano who beat Turner, man, he really can't afford to lose this one, man. And I don't think he will. I think that the younger age is really going to be able to help him here. Like retiring so young and it was so short-lived and already come back so soon a few months later. I feel like I've listened to a few of his interviews. He was on the Helwani show recently and all that. He seems like he has a new fire inside of him. He's rejuvenated, and his comeback fight is a very winnable level of competition here, man. And I think that, again, the momentum is something that is lacking for both guys. Like Barboza's been losing a lot of his recent fights, and so with Turner, but Turner's at least been losing in these like close decisions with a hooker or a Gamrot, guys who are that top 10 level truly. And Barboza's coming off a really rough loss to Jakar Close. Turner, he's very long, very rangy. He has the clear height and reach advantage here. He's going to be faster, harder hitting. And like I said, these losses are to good competition for the most part. And if he didn't fumble the Moicano win, who knows what timeline it would have been in. Maybe Thanos would have won in that timeline. Who the hell knows? But he still has his 100% finish rate too. So he's 14-9. That is a bit of an ugly record on paper because 14-10 if he loses this one is a really rough look, man. He might have to actually retire for sure after that. But I just think that Turner has a lot of the advantages here, not just physically, but in terms of just the pure striking battle. Yes, of course, a few years ago, before the COVID era and all that, Barboza was a marauder, folks. He was Joe Rogan's favorite fighter's favorite fighter, and now it just seems like he's not the Barboza of old, man. He seems like he's just kind of this step up for other young guys climbing the rankings. And listen, a few years ago, I would pick Barboza to win this kind of matchup here. He does have these nasty knees and nice spinning attacks, a really good leg kick game, but I just think that father time has gotten the best of him here, man. He's 39 years old, about to be 40 years old, okay? And I just think that Turner is going to have the speed advantage, power advantage, and he's going to be more rejuvenated than ever, to where I see Turner getting a round 3 KO or maybe some kind of 29-28 decision. I'm like whipping out 29-28 decisions here, okay? But truly, man, I think Turner's going to get this one done, all right? Moving on to the next one we got, dude. This is a pick'em fight right here, and I think it should be. It's pretty damn unpredictable, but we got Marvin Vettori taking on Bruno Ferreira. I think I'm going to be going with Bruno Ferreira to get this one done, man. Originally, I was going to go with Vettori, but again, it's another guy that's just kind of lacking all momentum here, and I just can't trust him, man. We have a decision machine in Marvin Vettori versus a finish machine, the little Hulk we got here on Bruno Ferreira. And listen, man, Vettori did look solid in his last performance against Brendan Allen. It was a hell of a fight, but man, he's just coming off of a rough loss before that. He got 49-46 by Roman Dolidze. I don't even know how that's possible. And then before that, he was already out for like a year and a half. So it's not looking good for Vettori, man, okay? He's got a good left hand. He's got a nice one, too. And he was beating up Allen pretty good with it at times. But he's very simplistic and a bit one-dimensional at times, man. It takes like a certain level of competition for him to really actually get his wrestling going. You know what I'm saying? He needs like yapping Kevin Holland to really do that, okay? And again, I've always wondered how this guy has just remained around the top 7, top 8 level for so long. I always question how he even got the title shot and all that shit. Okay, the right guy at the right place at the right time. He just seems very beatable and simplistic in his style. And the long layoff prior to this recent 2025 run isn't going to help. And he's already 0-2 in this 2025 run he's on right now. But the things he has going for him, man, I mean, he has one of the best chins in the UFC pound for pound. He's never really been finished in general, especially knocking him out is a really hard thing to do. Like outstriking him is one thing, and just taking him to these decisions, man, a lot of guys have done it, but it's really hard to actually finish Marvin Vettori, okay? Submit him as well, but I think Bruno is going to need to be ready to win a decision here, man. Bruno Ferreira, I like the momentum on his side. He's been kicking off the year really strong, okay? He seems lighter on his feet here, very explosive. He's a versatile striker, more aggressive and just good overall movement. And for his ground game, he's got a nasty armbar, man. Like, I'm talking about how he's starting the year strong. He's won his past 2 fights via armbar, okay? So he's been able to mix it up a bit more. I get that Magomedov submitted him right before that, but Abus Magomedov is a guy who's been ranked. You know what I'm saying? It's not too bad of a loss. And in general, man, like, he's been able to implement some solid takedowns at times. So I could see him taking down Vettori in this matchup here. So whether it be on the feet or whether it be on the ground, I just think Ferreira is just going to overwhelm him with this pressure. And Vettori is just losing all momentum while Bruno is gaining all the momentum. You know what I mean? I know that Bruno's 33 and Vettori is 32, and yet they've lived like 2 completely different lifetimes here in general, but man, I think that due to Vettori's durability, I think that Bruno's going to need to be ready to go to the distance, so he can't get reckless, okay? Sometimes he rushes in a bit too quick or is poor defensively, and then it ends up costing him, so he needs to be ready for the decision machine and the iron chin that is Marvin Vettori, okay? So I think that Bruno Ferreira, as long as he doesn't get reckless, man, okay, and he's efficiently able to mix it up on the feet and on the ground, and he's looked as good as he has been lately. I know this is a big step up in competition for him, and I know this is a big step down in competition for Vettori, and I truly believe that kind of shit matters, but I just think the momentum is going to shift towards Ferreira. So I'm going with Ferreira via a round 2 submission or a 29-28 decision once again, okay? Moving on to the next one we got here, man. This is a banger. This is going to be one of those fight in the nights that are on the prelims, and they probably aren't going to get the bonus for either the great finisher performance they're about to put on, even if it goes the distance, but I really love this fight, man. It's Ziam Sadykhov taking on Ziam, okay? Both these guys are young, and they're riding momentum right now, but my prediction, even though it might be risky, I'm going to go for Ziam to take this one, okay? France has been on an absolute tear lately, okay? So I got to recognize that as well. And listen, respect to Sadykhov because this guy is very entertaining. He's a consistent finisher, just putting on dog fights, okay? One of the best fights I've ever seen, or one of the best fights at least this year, he took on Nicholas Mota, and it was an absolute barn burner. They're throwing hundreds of strikes by like halfway through round 2 already, so it was crazy to see. And Sadykhov, in terms of his skill set, man, he's really fast, really light on his feet. He's got slick combinations. He mixes it up well with elbows and good knees landing. And he's got a good kicking game as well to the head and the body. I think that'll do wonders for him here. And he applies such a heavy pressure. He loves to hang in the dogfight, okay? And I think that doesn't work too well at times for a guy like Ziam, but Sadykhov, man, he just loves to scrap. Every UFC fight he's been in has either been a knockout or a back-and-forth banger, but defensively, he is a bit poor at times. He can get cracked frequently or just be a bit reckless at times, and against someone like Ziam, who is a great striker as well, and he's much more composed, patient, and technical, long and rangy, has the height and reach advantage. He's got a nice jab, good knees, very good timing and speed as well, and on top of the fact that Ziam has been improving massively in the grappling and in the clinch, and only his past couple fights alone, because he's so young, he's constantly just improving so fast. I feel like the factors like that are going to be the reasons why I'm going with Ziam, okay? So I think Ziam's going to do a good job of neutralizing Sadykhov and not making it the dogfight and heavy pressure he wants it to be. And Ziam in those kind of environments, man, again, I think that he's going to be able to hold his own, maybe and mix in some offensive grappling of his own, right? Because defensively, he's already been improving so much with it. So we'll have to see in that regard, okay? But Sadykhov, he's a really good talent, very exciting, but I'm going to be trusting in the more patient and composed and technical for Ziam here by a very close barn burner of a 29-28 decision, okay? Moving on to the next one we got here, man. It's definitely going to be ended in some kind of finish no matter who wins. Terrence McKinney taking on Chris Duncan. I love this fight. And I'm going to be going with Chris Duncan to win this one, okay? McKinney is just that guy who's getting either brutally finished or brutally finishing you. It truly be your own. And in general, I think that Duncan is just such a good finishing artist to where I could see him taking out the lights of McKinney, okay? McKinney, all due respect to him, man, he's not as bad of a fighter as people say, man. On top of the fact he is very explosive and entertaining, but on paper, he should be like this world champion, man. He's got a good submission game, nice power on the feet. He's such a marauder, but he can be so defensively poor at times and get so reckless hunting for these early finishes a bit too strongly, and it costs him. And again, he could be very chinny at times. He can kind of gas out. Like usually when the fight even makes it to the second round, odds are he's just going to end up losing. God forbid, even the third. I don't even know if he's seen a third round in the UFC, okay? And meanwhile, you have Chris Duncan, who's just a motherfucking dog, bro, okay? He got an absolute war, and he was able to win in his last performance against Matus Rebecki, which is a solid win. And in general, he's 5-1 in the UFC, still very young as well, 32 years old here. And his only loss is to Manuel Torres. We'll get to him in a second here, but that's not a bad loss by any means at all, okay? It goes to show how tough the competition is for not even being ranked outside of lightweight, okay? Duncan has great volume on the feet when he chooses to, man. He's got good takedown entries when he chooses to as well. He's got a good guillotine choke. He's won his last 2 out of 3 fights, right? And he's just a bit of a well-rounded fighter that can take on others head-to-head in most regards, all right? Luffy and Kaido doing the head clash. This is what Duncan's doing every time, right? And McKinney technically is a well-rounded fighter as well, but I just feel like there's less to his game, poorer fight IQ. Again, he could gas out or get caught in big exchanges the longer the fights go on, or just more easily in general. And the chin can just be questionable at times, to where I'm going to be going with Chris Duncan via a round 1 knockout here. I think it's going to be a very heavy pace from McKinney early on. He's going to bring it, but I think Duncan is going to catch him rushing in, or just beat him in the exchanges and land the heavier combinations, okay? So I sense a round 1 KO here coming from Chris Duncan. I'd be shocked if this one even makes it to the 3rd round. Moving on to the next one we got, man, the feature prelim here. It's KGD. I don't even know what that stands for, but that's his name, bro. It's KGD Grant Dawson taking on Manuel Torres. It's a very dangerous matchup here for Grant Dawson, okay? But I'm going to be trusting in Grant Dawson, man. Truly, I think he's going to get this one done via a close 29-28 decision here. I've always said that Grant Dawson is one of the most underrated fighters on the roster, and I really believe that, dude. He's 11-1-1 in the UFC. He's 23-2-1 overall, and yet he's still fighting unranked guys. And I don't know if that goes to show how much the UFC has a problem with this guy, or goes to show how competitive this division really is. But in general, man, the goddamn it Bobby performance has really held him back. Not only in terms of just moving up the rankings, but in terms of the fan perception as well, man. Like, his chin was very questionable in that fight, man. He got KO'd by a jab, or it might have just been like a straight left down the middle, whatever it was. But it wasn't too crazy of a shot, but it was able to knock out Grant Dawson pretty clean within like a minute of the fight, which just made it worse as well. And Bobby Green just isn't even that crazy level of a competition. I actually forgot he was even ranked going into that fight, man. But in general, it's just kind of why I think a lot of people think that Torres is just going to find the chin and get a really early KO because of that Bobby Green performance. But man, Dawson has been able to survive apart from that, man. He's been pretty durable besides that. And it's not like he's facing jokes on the feet, man. You know what I mean? This guy, he's got good wrestling. He's got good grip and control. Nice ground and pound. He finished Rafa Garcia that way, okay? He's got a good rear naked choke as well, and his striking has been improving. He's still young, so I feel like that's just natural anyways, but against the Diego Ferreira performance, man, the first half of the fight when they were mostly playing it on the feet, man, he was looking good, looking a bit more dynamic than usual, right? He's throwing like spinning wheel kicks and shit, all right? He's throwing the fucking kitchen sink at him against Diego Ferreira, and who a lot of people thought was going to have the clear striking advantage in that one. A lot of people were picking Ferreira in general, but it seemed like Dawson in that fight, I don't think he's fought since, but he seemed much more comfortable on the feet in the first half of that fight. And again, I only say first half of the fight because in the second half, he ended up just kind of relying on the wrestling as he usually does and possibly gassed out. I don't know if he was not really used to going that back and forth on the feet and throwing that much wild shit as he was, but he ended up relying on the bread and butter in the wrestling in the second half, and he was able to efficiently just control Ferreira, man. But it's a good win. I think that going against Manuel Torres, man, I think Dawson has a good style to be able to neutralize him, but it's going to be really, really dangerous for him, especially that first round. If it makes it to the second round, my confidence in Dawson is just going to go up even more, especially by the time he even gets to the third round. Like, I'd be putting all bets on Dawson at that point. But don't get me wrong, Torres is a great striker and he does have insane power, so he could be able to technically pull it out the fire and knock out Dawson, even if Dawson's hypothetically winning the whole time. Because Torres, man, he's a fucking marauder, dude. He's a great striker. He loves getting in the pocket. He has really good shot selection and powerful overall, man. Really good timing, can hang in a dogfight. And man, the heavy pressure and output he brings with the high volume on the feet, man, like, it's absolutely insane how high a volume that this guy has and how powerful he is, man. And this guy, man, he's not here to coast. He doesn't fight to coast at a distance. He fights to finish, and he clearly wants to fight the end early, especially in that first round, okay? So that is why, especially the first round is going to be so dangerous for Dawson, who is fighting the chin allegations. But I really do think that this guy's so underrated. I think the chin's going to be able to hold up. And in general, I think he'll take over the second and the third round after facing adversity in the first on the feet, okay? But in general, I think Dawson's going to be able to efficiently control him, maybe find some kind of submission. So I sense either a round 3 sub for Dawson, maybe some ground and pound TKO if he gasses out Torres, or in general, a 29-28 decision after losing the first. That's how I think this is going to go for him, okay? Very risky, but we'll have to see how it goes. Moving on up next to open up the main card here, right? We have the legendary Polish power, Jan Blachowicz, taking on Bogdan Guskov. Another risky pick here, man, but I think I'm going to be going with Jan Blachowicz to get this one done via a 29-28 decision, but he's actually winning this time, okay? Blachowicz's last 3 losses, man, are these split decisions against very high-level competition for the division, all right? I know we're not dealing with the prime Blachowicz of old. I know that he's lacking that finishing ability, and I know he's getting more up there in age, but dude, he's going to split decisions with Magomed Ankalaev. Some people thought he won that fight. Split decision with Carlos Holberg. Some people thought he won that fight. Split decision with Alex Ferreira, and some people thought he won that fight, okay? So Blachowicz, man, is fighting the most elite of elite for the division, and yet he's just barely losing by a little Polish hair, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, Bogdan Guskov is a really dangerous matchup for him here, okay? Like, he's got a low guard on the feet, but in general, he is a pretty damn good striker. He's got a powerful right hand and good finishing instincts in general. Low output, low volume, but he kind of relies on finding the right shot, clean precision, and getting that nasty power and plot on his opponent. So it's dangerous for him, but Blachowicz is pretty damn durable, man. I can't see really Guskov just going to outlast him for those 3 rounds and just pulling away in the judges' scorecards unless it just really isn't the Blachowicz we've been seeing lately. I know he's been losing, but he's still making it competitive. So if it really is just a washed-up Blachowicz, because he is 42 years old, man, okay? That's the damn near grandpa status. Most fighters don't even fight past 40, so that could be very rough for him, because if the speed isn't there, if the timing isn't there, if the reaction time in general isn't there, and he's just letting Guskov get the better of him in these combinations, and just land the better shots and maybe does get some kind of knockout or does get some kind of decision, I could see that happening, right? There's a reason why a lot of people are going with Guskov, reason why the betting odds are so close, but I'm trusting in Blachowicz to get this one done, man. He has a nasty calf kicks. He's one of the best leg kickers in the game, pound for pound. He's got a nice one, too. He's very durable. Again, like the good chin on him, I think is going to make him more comfortable to get in the pocket with a guy like Guskov, and I think he's going to take advantage of Guskov's too specific a shot selection at times. Like, before he knocked out Krylov, right? I understand that fight only lasted like 4 minutes or whatever, but wasn't throwing too much, to be honest with you, right? And he ended up getting the knockout, but Krylov, I don't think that's aging too well, man. Apparently everybody and their mother's knocking out Krylov, unfortunately, but if Blachowicz is a bit slower and the age really does hurt him, and if the timing isn't there, like he will lose this fight, but I'm trusting that it's still going to be there, man. He's only losing to the very elites. He's a good striker in his own right, and he does still technically have the takedown threat if he wants to use it. Doesn't use it too much unless he's going against guys like Adesanya or Pereira, who kind of just are that more of a threat on the feet, but man, I think that Blachowicz here is just going to be able to outstrike him over 3 rounds, be able to survive in the pocket, okay? The Polish chin and the Polish power will stay intact. And I sense a 29-28 here comeback win for Jan Blachowicz. Hopefully if he gets it done, because I'm not trying to see Blachowicz go 0-4 and then just retire, man, his last 4. That'd be really rough to see, but I'm trusting in the former champion to get this one done. Guskov is a great talent and a good striker, but I just think he's going to come up short here in this matchup, okay? Big step up in competition for him, whereas Blachowicz is getting a big step down, right? Moving on to the next one we got here. Oh, fuck, dude. All right, we got Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbott. Questionable matchmaking. It should be Raoni Barcelos taking this fight, folks, but it is what it is, man. Talbott is getting a big step up, whether he deserves it or not. That's up to y'all. My prediction here is so risky, bro, and I'm not confident in it, but I just got this feeling, man, because I don't think he should be this big of an underdog, and I think on paper he should be able to get it done. I'm going with Henry Cejudo, bro. I'm going with this little midget to get this one done, bro. Don't get me wrong. I like Peyton Talbott. One of my more favorite fighters on the roster. He's very exciting, okay? And I picked him to beat Felipe Lima, even though he was an underdog. And now he's a big favorite over Cejudo, man. And I do understand how we can get this done. I do understand why the UFC is really pushing him to get this one done. It's one of the more winnable matchups for him if they are just going to shoot him up to a ranked spot. Because, man, Cejudo, yes, he's 0-3 in his last 3, but the thing that kind of helps me cope with that and pick him here in this fight is that every one of them besides Merab has been a close back and forth, man. Like, I know that the eye poke situation against Song Yadong didn't age too well for him or whatever, but, man, like, he was making it pretty damn competitive at times. He wasn't exactly getting dog walk, right? He was still getting his shots going. It was a nice back and forth. The striking numbers were pretty close. And then the Aljamain Sterling fight, that was a close fight. He ultimately did lose that one. It's not like a robbery loss or anything, but, like, he still was competitive, man. The only guy to really dog walk him, not only lately, but just in the UFC the past few years, has been Dvalishvili here, all right? And Cejudo, he is more of a striker than a wrestler. I think that's something that a lot of people get confused. Like, he was the Olympic gold medalist. Obviously, he came into the UFC with such a high-level wrestling pedigree, but it seems like, especially over these last few fights, when he went on the title run, flyweight and bantamweight, and when he was able to, hang in these fights recently in the comeback, like, he's not exactly shooting too many takedowns, man. Like, he's more of a striker than a wrestler, and his striking is pretty damn solid, but I feel like that because in the comeback, he is fighting the death row of competition, and they still were kind of competitive, and now he's getting a big step down in competition here. I think that's going to help him. But, man, Talbott is going to be so dangerous. He's going to tower over Henry Cejudo. He's 5'10" compared to Cejudo's 5'4". He's 27 years old, so still very young and just growing, whereas Cejudo's 38, and he's going to retire no matter what, win or lose in this fight. And he's also suffering from a really big reach disadvantage as well, man. It's not looking good for Cejudo, bro. Holy shit. But he's suffering from a height and reach disadvantage here as well. 70 inches for Talbott versus 64 inches for Cejudo here. And Talbott is such an amazing striker, man. Very high volume, nasty power, heavy pressure, very versatile and hard for guys to figure out. Very comfortable getting in the pocket. He's able to mix it up on the feet with wild spinning attacks and kicks and elbows and knees. And he just has wild combinations in general, but yet he's so composed while doing it, man. So in terms of Talbott's pure striking, I'm telling you right now, like, you just give it a few more years, or if he wins this fight against Cejudo, I guess like 1 or 2 more years, and he's going to be a real threat on the feet for a lot of the guys in the rankings. And I'm talking about an O'Malley an O'Malley or a Sandhagen or someone like that. I don't know if he's at that level yet. I think this is a big test for him, and he'll really get to show us if he is that level yet or not. But man, I feel like he's going to have a striking advantage here, a physical advantage here. He's going to be more aggressive, has the height and reach advantage. But I think Cejudo, with this step down in competition, man, I think he's going to be able to hold his own, man. I think that he is going to be able to get a few takedowns going, but I think Talbot, for the most part, will be able to get back up to his feet. I don't think Cejudo is going to get some crazy ground and pound or whatever, or be able to control him for most of the fight like a Barcelos did, but I think Cejudo will get his takedowns going. I think he's going to land at least more than like 1 or 2, and with that, be able to control him for just a bit to maybe steal away these rounds. And while the fight is playing out on the feet, I feel like he'll be able to still hold his own with the striking numbers, not get too beat up. And for the most part, it's really hard to finish Cejudo, so I don't think he's going to get knocked out. You know what I mean? So in general, I think Cejudo's chin, underrated striking, and the takedowns he's going to actually implement here, and the fact that it's such a big step down in competition for him here, all is what kind of convinces me to go with Cejudo here. On top of the fact that he just, I don't think, should be kind of this big of an underdog, but maybe I'm looking too much into that shit, all right? Talbot, I really like the guy. Honestly, it'd be refreshing if he does get a win here, okay? But in general, dangerous matchup for Cejudo, but I'm going to be trusting in him to get this one done. Talbot, yes, granted, he already has improved a lot in the grappling already within like a 12-month span, because the Barcelos fight was last January, and here we are now a year later, back in December, right? And well, I guess it's the same year, but you know what I'm saying, right? So Talbot, because he's so green and young at the UFC level, of course, these big improvements are going to come like that. I think even if Cejudo is able to take him down, Talbot in like a 2 or 3 years from now wouldn't allow Cejudo to take him down, but he still is in that weird in-between where he's not technically like really getting going in his prime yet, but he's also just really improving a lot to where, yeah, it's dangerous for Cejudo, but it might just be too early, too much, too soon for him. So we're going to have to see it here, right? Cejudo really does have that high-level UFC experience. I know the comeback run has been rough for him here, but god damn it, why did he fucking retire in the first place, man? But it is what it is. I'm trusting Cejudo to retire on a win here, okay? Risky matchup for him, but it is what it is, okay? Moving on to the next one we got here, man. Featured fight of the card, and it's a banger of a flyweight matchup. Huge #1 contender stakes on the line for Taira if he's able to win this one. It's Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. My prediction is going to be Tatsuro Taira. I'm trusting in the younger fighter here, the changing of momentum and changing of the guard here. But man, I can't count out Moreno. There really is good value on him as an underdog, man. He's such a good striker. He's clearly going to have the advantage on the feet in this fight specifically. He's got a high guard, hard for guys to break through in. He's got nice kicks to the body, nice kicks to the legs. He's got a good overhand left. He's very efficient with everything he does, efficient combinations and nice speed and timing in general, and definitely just has that UFC level experience advantage. And I know I said it's like a changing of the guard here, right? But Moreno is still young. He's still in his prime, and he's only 31 years old. It's crazy how much he's already fought. He has like almost 40 MMA pro fights combined, and in the UFC, he's already touched gold, lost gold, touched gold, won an interim gold in there. Like, he's already done so much for being so young, so I gotta give it to him, man. He is very high level, and he's coming off of good wins over Steve Erceg and Amir Albazi before that, okay? So he's on a 2-fight win streak, building back momentum, and his striking has looked so crisp and so efficient, and just amazing to watch, man. I love Moreno. I love to see him getting these wins, and on top of the fact that, man, he was showing out and showing up in that fight, both of those fights, you know what I mean? And before that, he lost to Royval in a very close decision. And before that, he lost to Pantoja in a banger fight in a very close decision, okay? So Moreno is absolutely no slouch in general, and he's no slouch on the ground. I know Tatsuro Taira is going to have a clear grappling advantage here. That's his bread and butter, and now he's going to want to get this fight done. But, man, Moreno's no slouch on the ground, dude, but he can be taken down, okay? Actually, a lot of his losses, like, you're going to notice, like, Pantoja was taking him down a bunch. Figueiredo, when he was beating him up in the fights he actually won, like, he was taking him down. He's been taken down by Askarov, shit like that. But my point is, man, like, Moreno can be taken down, and Taira has really good takedown entries, okay? But he has some of the best grappling in the division, man. He's kind of below that Pantoja level, but we'll have to see. It'd be really impressive if he beats a guy like Moreno and fights Pantoja, or Van possibly. We'll have to see it, but man, this guy has very strong takedowns, okay? Very efficient with it. He's good at taking the back. And he's slick with maintaining control and composure when he's getting these guys to the ground. And on top of the fact, he's not just like this control-heavy grappler, I drag you out to 30-27 boring decision, bro. He has good finishing instincts on the ground. He's got a sick submission game, and he has really good ground and pound. He's able to mix it up with nice elbows and, in general, take guys out of there with a lot of solid ground and pound TKOs. And his submission game could be very dangerous for Moreno here, especially if he's able to take this back frequently in the fight. He almost had, I believe, Brandon Royval when they fought. He almost had him out of there with a rear naked choke, I think, in the middle of the fight. I could be botching that, but in general, there's always that submission threat from Taira. There's always that takedown threat from Taira. He just rushes in, but it's not like it's reckless. Like, he's still composed and efficient with it, and most of the time he gets these guys down, okay? And as we saw with Kyoji Horiguchi, man, like, Japan wrestling, brother, it's on fucking fire right now, okay? So I think his striking needs improvement at the higher UFC level, okay? But we already saw when he took on, like, Hyungjun Park, that win isn't aging too well, and it was on short notice, but the striking did improve a bit, and he was able to just dominate him the entire fight, man, okay? Wasn't letting Hyungjun Park barely do anything, okay? Submitted him with a neck crank in the second round, and in general, like, besides the Brandon Royval loss, which was a split decision in a very entertaining back and forth, he's never lost in the UFC, man, okay? He's beating Edgar Chairez, he's beating Alex Perez, he's beating Jesus Aguilar. That win is aging well. And in general, man, the armbar threat and the taking of the back threat is going to be there. Worrisome for Moreno, but if Moreno is able to keep this fight standing, man, don't get me wrong, he can get this one done. He has a striking advantage, speed advantage here. But Taira, I'm just trusting him to actually efficiently get his grappling going and win a pretty entertaining 29-28 decision here, or maybe even some kind of submission, but Moreno is hard to get out of there, man. So I think it's going to be a 29-28 decision where Taira's grappling just does a bit more than Moreno's striking, and hopefully his striking has improved enough compared to the Royval performance to where he's actually able to hang a bit more with Moreno, okay? Moving on to the co-main event, man. I've never been this excited for a flyweight fight in like my 10 years of watching as a fan, right? It's right up there with like the Johnson and Cejudos or Dillashaw and Cejudos, whatever, man. Like, this is it, boys, okay? We are finally here for the Joshua Van first ever title shot, right? Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. I love Joshua Van, man. My favorite flyweight, and in general, one of my favorite fighters on the roster. He's so active, so entertaining. His boxing is beautiful to watch. On top of the fact he's practically undefeated in the UFC, he's really only lost to Charles Johnson, man, which is not a bad loss by any means, especially considering how young Joshua Van is. And, man, I'm so tempted to go with him. I really, really am. But I'm going to be trusting in Pantoja to get this one done, man. I think the biggest thing in this matchup, man, is that the experience difference is going to matter. Pantoja in 2 years, I would pick Van to beat him, but I just think this is too much for Van, at least in this stage in his career. And don't get me wrong, I was saying that against Royval. I picked Royval to beat him, okay? But I was very happy Van won, and now here we are. Don't get me wrong, I'm always going to be rooting for Van. And I would love if Van wins, because there's going to be, I think he'll be a champion that can be on top for a long time, consistently be active and entertaining. And he'll add a bit of refreshment to the flyweight division. Because if Pantoja wins, I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him. But, man, to hype up Van a bit here, man, he has fantastic speed, really good combinations. He doesn't rely too much on his kicks, but he has a solid front kick. He was throwing that a lot in the Royval fight and in previous performances as well. He has a mean hook and overhand right. He's actually developing power. He knocked down Bruno Silva 4 times and got that knockout, okay? Knocked down Royval in the final round of their fight. So I think it might be because he's getting a bit older and more comfortable at the higher level, but the power is developing now, man. He has a nice one too. Good counters, nice body shots, great pressure when he wants to apply it, but also great patience and composure when he wants as well. But no matter what, man, he has such high volume on the feet, man. He has the most significant strikes landed per minute, any weight class in the UFC, man, okay? So especially now that he's building power, that could be dangerous for Pantoja. But I will say with Van, though, he does kind of lack head movement at times, but it seems like he's been able to manage pretty well despite that. And on top of the fact, his takedown defense, man, just his wrestling, okay? He doesn't shoot too many takedowns. He's more of that stand and bang kind of fighter. But when he's having these fighters shoot on him, man, I know they're not the craziest level of competition, but like his takedown defense has looked great. How he's gotten out of these scrambles has looked great, man. But the thing is, for as efficient as he is in these scrambles with the takedown offense and getting back up to his feet, they're not Pantoja. Bruno Silva's grappling, Cody Durden's grappling, Ray Saruya's grappling. They're just not on the level of Pantoja, not even close. So for as good as Van has looked in that regard so far, I just think Pantoja is just a different level of competition, a different beast and a different grappler, man. Van, he's only been trained in MMA for 5 or 6 years, so I think he's going to be around the UFC for a long time. He gets a lot of Max Holloway comparisons, and I think the fact that that is one of them. He's going to be in the UFC forever, man, and I think he will touch the belt, if not tonight or this night of 323, he will eventually. He's that good of a talent, forever improving. But man, Pantoja is just him right now, bro, okay? 30-5 overall. He has great takedown entries, really good at taking the back, efficient with locking up the body triangle. He's got a mean rear naked choke, and he's good overall at dictating where he wants the fight to go. In general, even against guys like Moreno, Usyk, Royval, man, Kai France, where Pantoja wants the fight to go, he will drag you down there, and he's able to hold his own on the feet as well, because his striking in his own right, despite being 35 years old, has been improving a lot over the past few years, okay? On top of the fact, man, he has one of the best chins in the UFC pound for pound. I know we're dealing with flyweight here. Like, look at Cortez Acosta, one of the best chins in the UFC, but that's a heavyweight. That's crazy. But Pantoja, I know it's flyweight, but his chin is so good. He's only been knocked down once in his UFC career, and it was to Figueiredo, who has nasty power. So Van, even though his power has been improving, I don't think he's going to, like, knock out Pantoja. If he wins, he's going to win in a really high-paced dogfight where his takedown defense looks great. He's able to keep it on the feet, and he's just throwing all of the insane output and volume that he does and is getting the better of Pantoja in the pocket and with these striking exchanges. But I think that Pantoja will be able to hold his own in the striking whenever they are on the feet, avoid getting knocked down or really pieced up. And even if he is getting pieced up, he has that takedown threat, the submission threat, the taking of the back threat, man. Like, Pantoja, the bread and butter being the pure grappling is really going to help him here, man. But don't get me wrong, in his own right with his striking, he has nice kicks to the body. He's got a nice jab, nice right hook. And his output at times against guys like Moreno and Royval and Usyk, he's throwing a lot on the feet. So in general, man, Pantoja, he does kind of gas out at times. So I feel like that he's going to be the most dangerous in the first half of the fight. Whereas I'd argue Van has the cardio advantage here. He shows no signs of slowing down, no matter how much he throws or how much of a dogfight it is. So I think the fight will get really interesting and really much more competitive if it lasts to the second half of the fight. But man, I just think Pantoja, even then, like, he's still able to win. He's still able to win these 4th or 5th rounds or whatever against these high-level flyweights anyways, even though with the cardio problem. Because guess what, guys? He has heart, all right? He's got that dog in him, and I think that Pantoja is ready, and he's not, like, underestimating Joshua Van. He's ready to go against a dogfight, ready to hang on the feet, and ready to aim for some kind of submission to where, as much as I like Joshua Van, as much as I think he could get it done, I'm going with Pantoja via a round 4 submission or a 48-47 decision here, okay? And listen, I want to say one more thing about this one. I think there's a reason why there aren't really young champions anymore. Like, okay, young champions nowadays are considered like, oh, you touched the belt at 29 years old. Holy fuck. But dude, like, I'm seeing a lot of these posts, and it's like, if Joshua Van wins, he's going to be the 2nd youngest UFC champion of all time, surpassing Aldo and right under John Jones, which would be absolutely crazy, especially in the modern era. But I think there's a reason why there aren't no champions, man. Like, if you look at the rest of that list, man, it's a bunch of fighters who are from the early 2010s era. I think it's so much harder to touch gold at this age and at this time in the UFC. And by age, I mean the fact that Van is 24 years old. So I think one day he will be the champion. I truly, truly believe that. And I would love if he beats Pantoja, even though I really respect and like Pantoja, but I'm rooting for Van, but fortunately, I guess it depends how you look at it. I'm going with Pantoja via a late submission in a dogfight, or in general, a 48-47 decision of a really entertaining scrap here, okay? Extremely, extremely excited for this one. Moving on now to the main event here. We got a rematch in Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan here, and man, respect to Merab. I couldn't stand this guy a year or two ago, and I'm not just trying to hop on the hype train, but man, his activity and the fact that he's become much more entertaining, I really got to tip my Ben Askren fro to it, man. All due respect to Merab. And if he beats Petr Yan and gets another title defense in 1 year, man, this really will be, he will be like the 2025 fighter of the year, man, for sure, brother, okay? He's already the bantamweight GOAT, but he'll even further solidify it if he wins this one. My prediction here is going to be Merab, man. Whoa, fucking shocker here, all right? But I'm going to be going with Merab Dvalishvili to get this one done. I think Merab's striking has improved so much, man. He's not afraid to get in the pocket with guys like O'Malley and guys like Umar Nurmagomedov, man, or guys like Corey Sandhagen. He almost knocked out Corey Sandhagen, for Christ's sake, in the second round. He's saying like, hey, Sandhagen, I will rest my Georgian balls on your forehead and I will knock you out, brother. You're a funny guy. But dude, he actually was able to do that. It was crazy to see. He doesn't have the cleanest combinations and he's not very powerful, man, but he's got a good overhand right. He's good at blitzing in, and in the first fight with Yan, he implemented some really good leg kicks here, okay? And Yan, don't get me wrong, is an amazing fighter here, okay? I love that he's on a redemption arc. I love that he's 3-0 in his last 3. He's very good defensively in all regards. I gotta say that. He's got good takedown defense. He's got a high guard, hard for guys to break through in the feet. He has good striking defense as a whole. He's a great striker and a great boxer, man. Switches stances. He has good output and volume, great precision, but just kind of lacks power, man. Like, people talk about him like he's fucking Godzilla and King Kong combined, but he really kind of lacks in that power, man. Like, he's always going to these 49-46 decisions or a 29-28 decision very consistently over the past few years, okay? But don't get me wrong, man. The guy's a great striker, nasty body shots, good speed, nice timing and combinations as a whole. And his right arm or his right hand, whatever the fuck it was injured in the first fight. And like, as we've seen with a lot of rematches, especially with injuries, Alex Ferreira and others, like, rematches can be completely different, okay? But even if Yan really was hurt, because again, the right hand, right arm was hurt, and he wasn't utilizing it as much as he usually does, so don't get me wrong, I think Yan will look better in this rematch. But I just think that between these two, man, despite them being pretty similar in age and Merab actually being slightly older, he's the one that's really improved a lot lately, okay? He touched the gold and got a lot better, whereas Yan has always been good. He's always been a high-level fighter, but I just don't think he's actually growing at the velocity that Merab is, man. Merab was already always a good wrestler, but now with actual solid striking, he's actually really becoming a really well-rounded athlete. And to be fair, Yan is a very well-rounded athlete, man. He's very strong in all regards, okay? But you know what I mean. And for Merab's takedown entries, man, they're not always the cleanest and they're not always the most successful, but he's so efficient at getting these double legs in, man. And his insane cardio just makes people more susceptible to taking down because of the sheer volume of takedowns he's throwing throughout the entire fight, man, okay? I don't think Merab's going to be shooting as much as he was in the first fight against Yan. It was fucking crazy. I think he had like the most takedowns like attempted or failed in one fight or whatever, but Merab's just a good pressure fighter as a whole, man. He does a good job of getting his opponents against the fence, which really helps his wrestling get even more going. And Merab in general is just a marauder. He's very durable. He was used to fight like the I have a bad shin allegations, but man, he's very durable. His shin is held through and he's consistently fighting high-level strikers and Umar, O'Malley twice, okay? Corey Sandhagen, man. Cejudo before that. So, man, this guy is just high-paced, high-pressure, mean physicality. And when you combine that with the fact that he's still improving and very durable, man, and the fact that as well he has like submission ability now. He's actually aiming for finishes. I really think he's going to hunt for some kind of submission in this fight, man. And everything just seems like for the most part, it's going to be really helping Merab's side here. I think his activity could hurt him. Don't get me wrong. Like we just saw Rainier de Ritter's activities. I feel like what cost him in the fight against Brendan Allen, he just looked gassed after making the weight cut so much and after fighting so much, man, especially going against like wars against Robert Whittaker right before that. So don't get me wrong. I think maybe that could be kind of a weakness here for Merab, or if not tonight for 323, maybe in the future. But man, I think Merab is a different beast. I think he's one of these once-in-a-lifetime athletes here, okay? Really been coming into his own. And Jan's best chances of winning the fight, in my opinion, is stealing the earlier rounds, especially those first 2 rounds. But he's naturally a slow starter. He's a slow starter in these fights, man. So that's going to be rough for him here, man. So in general, I'm going to be going with Merab Dvalishvili to win this one. Despite, I think Jan is a very well-rounded fighter and a very good striker. And he could get it done, man. I think there's a reason why he's such a big underdog, and I think he'll look better than he did in the first fight, because, again, he was dealing with that injury, okay? But I think Merab Dvalishvili, man, he'll fight with literally like a brain tumor, bro, and probably still beat people, man. Merab is fucking insane, and he's fought injured before, all right? So I think we'll see a better Jan than in the first fight here, but unfortunately, I still think he's going to come up short. I think we're going to get a nice back and forth here, okay? Take a shot every single time Merab gets a takedown. It'll make it a little drinking game to help y'all watch the fight, but in general, I'm going with Merab via a 49-46 decision. I think Jan might take like the second round or something like that, just something random kind of early in the first half of the fight, but overall, Merab's just going to take this one, in my opinion, okay? Moving on now to the blanks of the card. We got the final one for 2025, boys, okay? And if you made it this far in the video, you know, you guys probably usually stick around here anyway. So let me know what you want me to replace the wild card of the card for 2026. I'm going to keep the underdog in the locks, but I'm going to replace that third bottom one. I kind of want to change it with someone else. I'm thinking like maybe like gut feeling of the card, but if you guys have any good ideas, let me know in the comments below. So getting into the first one we got here, man, the underdog of the card. Which one of my underdog picks am I the most confident here to get this one done? I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira, man. Bruno Ferreira right now is sitting in a very, very slight underdog, okay? It's kind of changing consistently, so don't get me wrong. Like, it's a pick 'em, or he's just like favored, or then he's a slight underdog. But from what I'm looking at right now, man, he's a plus 110. So I'm going to say Bruno Ferreira is my underdog of the card here. I'm not putting fucking Henry Cejudo on here, man. He's my other underdog I'm going with. I ain't putting him, bro. I ain't doing all that, okay? So I'm going to be putting Bruno Ferreira as my underdog of the card. My locks of the card. Which one of my picks am I the most confident in to get this one done? I'm going to put Merab Dvalishvili on here for sure. I'm going to put Jalen Turner on here as well. And I'm going to put Mansour Abdul-Malik as my 3 locks of the card, okay? Those are my 3 most confident picks. And then moving on now to the wild card of the card, possibly the last one ever. Who's somebody that's being pretty overlooked and overshadowed. Not many people are picking them, but they still can win. They got a good chance of winning, and if they do, they could really shake up their division here. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno, bro. Don't get me wrong. There's some people that are really picking Brandon Moreno. There's a lot of people, but in general, I feel like in a way he is kind of being overlooked here. He is the underdog despite having so much high-level UFC experience and despite being a former champion, okay? More people than not are picking Taira, and Moreno has a really good chance of getting it done. So I'm going to be putting Brandon Moreno as my wild card of the card here. And moving on to the card rating, what am I going to rate this one from 1 to 10 here, okay? I'm giving this an 8.5, man. Really good card here, okay? I don't think it's like that UFC 322 level, but it's pretty damn close, man. I love this card from top to bottom. The prelims are stacked with banger matchups and good name value, okay? You got Myron Santos on there. You got Mansour Abdul-Malik on there. You got Ivo Aslan taking on a young, undefeated Polish prospect here. Jalen Turner is back taking on Barboza. I mean, Ferreira and Vettori is a really good fight. Sadykhov and Ziam's a banger, man. Duncan and McKinney's a banger. Dawson and Torres is a banger. So the prelims are absolutely loaded with recognizability and really fun fights. And the main card is so damn good, bro, okay? Not the craziest main card we've ever seen, I'm not going to lie. And the main event isn't too intriguing, like, unless, Jan wins and pulls it out the fire, all right? But in general, like, I think the flyweight title fight is fantastic. I think the feature fight for the flyweights is fantastic. I like seeing a competitive fight for Blachowicz, who could either win or lose, we don't know. And I'm really curious about that Cejudo-Talbott fight. I really like that one. I think the matchmaking could have been better for Talbott, and the matchmaking could have been better for Cejudo, but it is what it is. We're getting what we're getting, and it'll still be a fun fight, probably end in some kind of finish, hopefully, but in general, if the main event was a bit stronger and shit like that, I feel like I could give this one higher. But man, this is an absolutely stacked and loaded card. I really love it. I don't have too much bad to say about it, okay? So I'm giving this one an 8.5 out of 10, all right? And that's going to be it for this video, y'all. Thank you so very much, as usual, guys, for giving me your time and attention. Truly means the world to me, all right? And let me know what you think in the comments below. Who are your locks or underdogs and picks in general? And where do you think I was the most right or most wrong? Please let me know in the comments below, okay? So all the smoke here. Hope you have a good time watching the card next weekend, boys. Appreciate y'all, and have a good one.